It's my pleasure to introduce Jonathan Howe, our next speaker. Jonathan currently serves as Vice President for Communications at the SBC Executive Committee and is also co-host of SBC This Week, a weekly podcast he and Amy Whitfield have produced since 2015. Jonathan is a graduate of the University of Southern Mississippi Golden Eagles. We're glad he is here. He holds a master's degree from Criswell College. For more than a decade and a half, he has served Southern Baptist in various roles at the Executive Committee, Lifeway Christian Resources, and the WMU. He and his wife, Beth, have 4 kids, and they live in the Nashville area. Would you make Jonathan welcome to the stage?
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. All right. Well, that's a great presentation to follow, Tim. It's really good to be in Iowa, and really glad to be here. And today this morning, you heard from Kevin, you heard from everything that's going on at the North American Mission Board. You've heard now from Tim and the cooperative program and everything that's going on here in Iowa. And I'm here to just tell you thank you. The cooperative program, we do a lot as Southern Baptists together because of your giving, your church's giving, your generosity, and Iowa's generosity. As it relates to the cooperative program. I could stand up here and tell you about the 3,532 missionaries we have across the world. The 1,018 new churches started since 2010, last year, not just since 2010, last year. Or the nearly 750,000 meals that Southern Baptists were able to serve in Florida in the wake of Hurricane Ian over the last month and a half. Or even the $473 million. I mean, look at these slides here real quick. Kevin mentioned it earlier, kind of stole one of his slides. $68.9 million given through the Annie Armstrong Easter offering and North American Mission Board. And then you got the IMB for the Lottie Moon Christmas offering. That was $203.7 million. And then just the cooperative program that's been passed on. Like you guys, you've increased your cooperative program giving, like Tim mentioned, almost 800%. $200.4 million given through cooperative program gifts to make things happen with Southern Baptists from around the world. Things are happening around the world from Southern Baptists here in the States, sorry. But I want to remind you of one thing. Those $204 million, $200.4 million, every one of those dollars has a story behind it. Every one of them. Your story, there are stories in other states, and the ministries that are happening here in Iowa, the ministries that are happening across North America, the ministries that are happening around the world are made possible because of the giving that you have to the cooperative program. And I want to tell you thank you for that. We've got folks from the ERLC here today. We've got NAM, IMB, all kind of different ministries that the Southern Baptist Convention is able to do because they're funded and funded well by churches like yours. 20 years ago, this fall, a woman named Elizabeth enrolled in a Southern Baptist seminary. Many of you went to Southern Baptist seminaries. Her roommate, Melissa, also enrolled in the seminary. Both of them were engaged to a guy named Jonathan. Different Jonathans, by the way. Different. Cooperative program supports a lot. It doesn't support that. Let's be clear. Beth, one of the first one I mentioned, that's my wife now. Melissa is married to another Jonathan. My wife, because of the cooperative program, because of churches like yours, because of the reduced tuition, she's able to graduate debt-free, work in a church that now gives back to the cooperative program, through the cooperative program. And many of you have that same story. Your seminary costs, I know many of you, maybe you're enrolled right now at Midwestern. I see Matt out here. Matt's enrolled at Midwestern right now. Reduced tuition because of the cooperative program. Jonathan and Melissa, the other couple, they're now overseas with the IMB in South Asia. Muslims are reaching Muslims and Hindus in the southernmost tip of a very large country in South Asia. Some of you know your IMB vernacular, you know what I'm talking about. But they're able to do that. They're able to concentrate on reaching Muslims, reaching Hindus, and not have to worry about raising money because of the generosity of churches like that, like yours. And that's an important thing. I don't know, many of you, I know you're church planners, and you have that anxiety of how are we going to meet budget, how are we going to do that? Maybe even just in an established church, how are we going to meet budget? Because of the cooperative program, our missionaries overseas, they can focus on reaching people with the gospel and not having to raise money. And we really appreciate that. And I know they do, and you'll hear from IMB later. I'm sure they'll echo that as well. The cooperative program helps Southern Baptists reach the unreached with the life-changing power of the gospel. It lets us focus on the main thing. And it's only made possible by the cooperative program. So remember that every dollar given through the cooperative program has a story behind it. Many of you are stories. Julie Masson from the RLC, she's a story today. I'm a story. Tim. We all have our own stories of how the cooperative program has made an impact. So just remember, that's the fuel that keeps us reaching Iowa, keeps us reaching North America, and keeps us reaching the world. We really appreciate that. As far as the executive committee goes, we're right now without a president, so please be in prayer for our leadership team as we kind of manage in this interim time, and also for our search team as they look to find God's leader for our entity as we move forward. They should be, I think, close on that. We'll see about that. We'll get there. We'll find out maybe in the spring. They'll have somebody for the executive committee there. And then also I want to invite you down to New Orleans next year in the summer. We'll be meeting in June for the SBC annual meeting. I know many of you were in Anaheim. Many of you came to Nashville a few years ago. And we want to invite you down to New Orleans. We've sold, or not sold, but we've got committed around 16,000 room nights right now for that meeting. It's going to be a big meeting. We're going to have a lot of folks down there. We're probably expecting 10 to 12,000, maybe a little bit more than 12,000 messengers. So it's going to be a great meeting in New Orleans. Really would like to see many of you from Iowa down in New Orleans next year. You can find out more information about that at sbcannualmeeting.net. And again, thank you for all that you do here in Iowa. Thank you for giving through the cooperative program, for giving to Lottie, to Annie, and everything in between. So thank you very much.